Where do you see opportunities for the social sector to improve, transform, or shift in order to be more effective?
One of the areas is something I think we both agree on strongly is having a really strong research and database on what is working. And I think that's been a challenge for organizations, not only like mine, but many are in the social sector who have the heart to do something good and to drive transformation, but doesn't necessarily have the rigor of the research behind it in order to codify what that looks like.
Right. And one insight I got on that particular issue this morning was recognizing the difference between activities and outcomes.
Yes.
And a lot of people will spend a lot of time doing a thing without the evidence that it actually makes a difference. So I agree with you. One of the really key differentiators is being able to focus on evidence, meaningful evidence, useful evidence, to be able to assess or refine or fine-tune your strategy.
What is the most pressing issue facing the social sector today?
Visionary disconnect between what people are funding and what the problems actually are. I think there's a huge pattern in the social sector among the philanthropic side to have an arbitrary or an abstract notion of what help actually looks like, and then build rigid structures to try to deliver against that without actually figuring out whether that's making a difference, solving a problem that needs to be solved, or touching people in the way they intend to.
That's so powerful. That is, I agree. I think one of the most pressing issues is, I want to say proximity and equity and inclusion. And this disconnect in my mind comes from the individuals that we're most likely trying to impact in our work in the social sector are not showing up in the work and in the people that are running the organizations, that are working in the organizations, that are helping to drive and shape the solutions. I think that's like a massive disconnect right now happening.
Are we competing enough in the social sector? That's a really good question.
It's a really good question.
And I would answer it first by saying yes and no. I think there is not enough competition when you focus on evidence, because people get into the custom of doing what they've always done, and people get in the custom of funding the thing they've always funded. So in that sense, creating a healthy competition means we all are striving to demonstrate that we're actually doing the best we can do, and that's healthy competition. I think where I would say we're not competing enough is in asking what are the problems that actually have to be solved. And that's sort of the point I made earlier, that reframing opportunity is partly what the social sector should be doing constantly, and I think sometimes there's not enough of it.
What I find is in the donor community, there is like the bright, shiny new thing that's going to solve it. And everybody rushes to it. And so there tends to be a let all flowers bloom approach, which is great. The challenge is, by the time we start identifying evidence, the wind shifts to the next shiny object. And so it's that double click of really going deep to understand what is driving outcomes and where we need to further invest, right, and go deeper to get to where we need to achieve is where I feel the challenge is. Run a
Completely agree
competition.
with that. And interestingly, having spent some time in the investment business and knowing that when you start a new thing, it almost never turns out in the end to be exactly what you thought it would be.
Yeah.
And the smart investor is a strategist trying to refine your approach and help shape and figure out how to bob and weave to get from what you started to do to the thing that actually works. Same discipline should be applied in the social sector,